formative day for us in the Mexica Aztec tradition, as well as in the Chicano movement, approaching the moratorium in August 29. Since 40 years ago, when we started painting the murals at the ramps, the first two ramps, our involvement from the Centro Cultural de la Raza, Toltecas, and Aztlan artist group. We were all artists painting in this park. We put all of our heart and effort, volunteer to work. We were trained at the Centro Cultural de la Raza by muralists from Mexico City, Gilberto Ramirez, who painted the murals at San Diego State University. Two great artists studied with him, Rubén de Anda and Guillermo Aranda, who also were part of the Toltecas and Aztlan first group. The group that came here from the Centro to the Chicano Park, we were trained to facilitate ourselves, to articulate all of our ideas that were happening here at the park. First of all, we knew that the park, like in this mural, the Chicano Park takeover. The mural has depicted some of the students from City College that came first call by our Mario Solis, who was one of the local residents, who's featured in the tractor right there, to define some of these symbols of the runner with the torch represents the knowledge that was brought to us in 1978 by the group of Mexico that came, and we ran that torch from Tijuana across the border to Chicano Park, and we buried that torch over there in the pole of the Totonaca flying dances. So that torch of knowledge represents the Aztec New Year that was lit in Mexico, also in Iztapalapa. So they brought that from Mexico, and we relit it across the border. In Azteca night, we run it, and we brought it right here. That was 1978 when we painted these murals. On the bottom of the mural, you can see the houses along Heights, how they were here before with the beautiful trees, no longer here. Now it's the park. So that's to commemorate those houses. On the bottom, you're going to see the Quetzalcoatl as a guardian of knowledge, and also a guardian of the place of art that is all of this Tolteca concept. We treat this park as a Tolteca masterpiece from the bigger picture of just one individual, but all the group of individuals working together on a master project. We invited the artists from La Huelga, from the group that worked with Cesar Chavez the most, and up north, RCIF, Royal Chicano Air Force. So therefore, I painted a mural of Jose Montoya, the familia, next to the Tierra Mía Chicano Park, to unite Sacramento and San Diego on the art, like in a codex. The next murals to be either in the bottom, we don't know yet, but the future murals. On the bottom of the bridge, you can see that we're going to paint at the bottom of the bridge. Already started designing with tiles, with hologram lights or something to make it futuristic view, how we're going to use the bridge artistically to continue to use the bridge. If we're not painting, doing some kind of a dramatic theater performance, movie settings, poetry readings, whatever it would be, to use the pillars as a master background for our project as art, Chicano art. On the top left side of the mural, we have the two eagles representing the knowledge of the spiritual power that is considered Ometeo, the two dual gods that has interpreted nowadays as the duality of God, the creator God. In between the two eagles, there is a familia, and the center of the familia, there is this lady that represents Aztlan mother. It's important to define who were the caretakers of this park at the time, were the organizers of the community. On the center part, you cannot see it from here. You have to move back. You're gonna see, excuse me, Mama. You're gonna see a young man with a rattle. That rattle is in this place all the Aztec dancers. There's about 120, 200 dancers in San Diego that use the rattle as symbol of transmission of knowledge that takes place here in the park. And on that same pattern, that guy carries a rattle, his una pala, his shovel, as a fundamental things of agriculture. He's also a descendant from farm workers. Also, they're all migrants, they're all residents from people right here. There's all these people, the familia that live here in Logan Heights, people that work in the canneries, people that came from Tijuana, Ensenada, Baja California, from the south, and they are right there on the ones that had teachers. They're all the students that came from City College. The one that has a strength, power, is the one that came from Vietnam. His return from Vietnam, a lot of strength. The faces on the right side, there are big caras, big heads to represent a strength, so they are almost like 3D, they're coming out. The guy on the right side, he's throwing seeds. He's also representing Centeo, the deity of the seeds. Symbolically, a lot of the Aztec dancers are learning about the different deities and different personalities. The guy in the center is a viejito that has a stick, it's a cord, a planting stick. He's the one that knows the knowledge of everything that has to do with agriculture. He works in all the valleys, he works in all the fields. So he's behind the young men. Over there in the back, there's some young kids from high school. They also came with rakes and little hoes to work in the community. All the young men, like the one over there in between the brown beret and the guy with the rattle, is also a high school student that came when the first call, when they brought him for first time. So everybody came to the park to rescue the park from being what was supposed to be a highway patrol parking lot. So this is in commemoration to all the people that work and all the people that saved the murals, all the people that have saved the park, all the people that have made this park to be respectful, to be culturally and spiritually respected by all the people that come here from everywhere, car clubs, dancers, artists, prayer groups, meeting groups, all different people that gather here, runners. The guy in the center represents the run called Barrio Run, but also represents symbolically the continental run of peace and dignity, because he has the feathers. So when we painted that, the guy started to run from LA from Olvera Street to Chicano Park before Peace and Dignity Run started. That was our first run that we had. And also representing the knowledge of the runner, as one of the Cuauhtemoc runners that happened August 13, 15, 21, that came to alert the people in 4 directions about the coming of the people from Europe. That's why we had Cuauhtemoc way up on top. Entonces, so for us to have Cuauhtemoc way up on top as a symbol of knowledge of the Aztec tradition, and to have next to him the tallest mural of Cuauhtemoc painted north of Mexico. It's like almost like 40 feet high. That's the tallest Cuauhtemoc, and that's the highest little Cuauhtemoc painted, you know, in any place. And it has it's un pilar that is telling about the future, pointing to the future, pointing to keep the tradition. And there's a whole message of Cuauhtemoc granted by the people of Mexico on 1521, August 13. Well, we're going to commemorate that on Saturday. So the mural explains itself, the takeover of the park by this distractor, people coming to rescue it, to do something great about it. So that's what we're doing. On the mural on the bottom, you can see the landscape of the islands. The islands right there are also part of the Coronado Islands, but all the islands in Southern California belong to the Native American people. The Brown Berets in 1973, they took Carolina Islands for us, for Mexico, and Mexico didn't want to listen to them, so that goes into history. So these islands belong to the people of this area. This landscape to the left side is all the way down to Tijuana and Ensenada, all the people that came to work in these canneries. You can see a small building right there representing a pyramid as a cultural center to be here at the park, in that area over there, all the way to the bay. 7 loops and it has a three-headed mestizo in the center. Those 7 loops represent the 7 houses of Chicomostoc, the place of Aztlan. Last time we only had 5, representing the 5 states. Now we have 7, representing the 7 states, including Utah and Nevada. So here we go, and that's the land that was sold back to, that they took back from Mexico. That's what we have in La Tierra Mía and the logos. It has 7 states representing Chicomostoc, Aztlan. The reason why we got involved on painting these murals at the time in the 1970s is because there was no place. I used to live right here in this barrio. Now I live in Taos, New Mexico. When I used to live right here, there was no place to go for doing artwork. So these walls became our training place to learn art. We used to graffiti the walls, we used to spray them, we used to paint on them, but that was illegal. So we got permits to do this right. And to get the permits, it was a whole process organizing in the community. So by painting these murals, it gave us merit to organize. It is important to say that that torch that you see right there, we carried that across the border from Tijuana to San Diego. And it's all great to a mural that I painted in San Isidro, where the priest of the neighborhood, the housing project, was good friends with the immigration officer that granted us permit to cross that torch. So that was a very, very beautiful historical moment that was not recorded, but I mentioned it. So this other dancer, Aztleca, and myself, we relayed the fire all the way over here, and we end up and buried the torch over there on where the Palo de Voladores is.
¿Por dónde cruzaron?
We crossed the border in San Isidro, and gate number 13.
Really?
And we were escorted by 6 police of Mexico, their motorcycles, and we had the band behind us, and we were running. So everybody was honking to us because we're bringing the torch, the sacred fire from Mexico. So we had a real, like an awakening moment to carry the fire and bring it across all the way right here. But about 15 people came from Mexico at that time in the band, so they all came with legal visas, and nobody got searched. Everybody was granted a nice permit, welcome, and they waited for me right here, so we buried that torch in there to commemorate. That's when we started these murals. That was 1978. In 1974, 6 years before that, we started the first ramps over there, and that's when we invited artists from Sacramento, Orange County, Los Angeles to come and participate with us, and they donated their time. So that's how we got involved.
What does the restoration mean 40 years later?
For us to say that 40 years later, the artists who are now alive, like myself, Felipe, Victor Ochoa, Torero, Queso, the RCIF Grupo, Jose Montoya, and we just lost a friend, one of our brothers, Magoo, Danny Magoo, who is in LA, who also contributed to our mural painting in San Diego. Spiritually, he's here present. For us to be present here painting, we're making history, because not even Siqueiros, Orozco, Rivera repainted their murals, or even Michelangelo ever retouched his own mural 40 years after. So we're granted a space and time, historically speaking, as Chicano artists, to create this movement of art that is granting us the permission to go on record, for being original artists, restoring original artwork. It's important to answer this question about how we got trained to paint murals. When we came to paint in Chicano Park, we were painting murals in Balboa Park at the Centro Cultural de la Raza, where Guillermo Aranda was already painting murals, indoor mural, and we were receiving instructions from Gilberto Ramirez. I was one of his first assistants at the Centro during one semester of mural painting that was granted San Diego State University Extension Department, Chicano Studies Department, in the summertime at Centro Cultural de la Raza, where Gilberto Ramirez taught everything, academically speaking, about mural painting, technically, how to execute the murals, how to compose the murals, how to do all the preparation for a mural painting. So I learned with him. So when I came here to work at Guillermo and Salvador Queso, and RCF and everybody, I was already prepared. And it's important to know that some of us got that training, some of them didn't have any training. So there are very few that have that kind of a training and learned directly from a maestro from University of Mexico City, who was also planting murals in San Francisco, painting murals in Santa Fe, and his book just came out, Gilberto Ramirez. I want to get that book. It's important to say two great things about us, that when we started to paint these murals in Mexico City, mural painting was stuck. Nobody was painting murals, so Chicanos pushed the mural forward by granting art spaces for Chicano artists to come and volunteer or work directly with him in Cuernavaca when he was doing Marcha de la Humanidad mural project, which is called the Polyforum Chicanos in Mexico City. When the Polyforum Chicanos, there was a lot of movement going on, so he created a lot of energy that went everywhere, and that energy came here, went to LA, went to San Francisco, because Chicanos came to Los Angeles, Chicanos came to San Francisco. He came to Los Angeles to restore his mural called America Tropical. I'd like to mention our artist, Josefina Quesada, who was also sent from Mexico to come and restore the mural after Chicanos died. And I worked with her in Plaza de la Raza in 1975-76. So it's important to know that the mural America Tropical, painted by Chicanos, was the most revolted mural ever painted after Rivera's mural of Rockefeller. So here we have two important muralists, and that's why we have in the panel Chicanos, Orozco, Rivera, and Frida Kahlo. Let me say something about Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera and Cuauhtemoc. When Cuauhtemoc, which is painted right there, that I painted a mural with Linda, and she's going to talk to you about that, in Mexico, in Ixcatiopan, Mexico, that it says that Frida Kahlo's friend, classmate, Eulalia Guzman, was the anthropologist that worked with Diego Rivera to reset the bones of Cuauhtemoc in Ixcatiopan. And it says that when Rivera was working with Frida, Frida was wanted to know what he was doing, so he brought her some jade from Cuauhtemoc. Frida Kahlo's accident happens on Cuauhtemoc Street on the train. Very interesting that. So that relation of Frida Kahlo, Rivera, and Cuauhtemoc. When Rivera touches Cuauhtemoc's bones, when he touched those bones, he became more nationalistic painting. He was given a lot of transmission of pre-Columbian art that came to him. I also like to say that Diego Rivera and our dance teacher, Florencio Yescas, Diego Rivera used to sit down to watch Florencio Yescas dance, and Florencio Yescas' mom used to cook for Diego Rivera pre-Columbian food. So all of this is codified in the knowledge in Chicano Park, in these murals that we have. So when we speak about our history, how we were trained, like myself, I went to Mexico City to paint murals, to learn to paint murals over there, to study the Dance Azteca, to work with the elders in Mexico, to work with the Semanahuatl, Machiloyan, the #1 organizing group in Mexico, Centro de la Cultura Preamericana, AC, that I'm being part of all of this time. So all of this movement of this mural here, there's a lot of influence in our life. And those of us who are granted time to paint, we are very happy. We're very happy to be compensated for our painting right now. We're very happy to, like myself, to come from Taos to Mexico with my wife over here to work on these murals. We're very happy and very thankful to all the people that saved these murals, that fought for protecting these murals. So we are validating that by painting good for these murals, by leaving testimony of quality painting, 25, 30-year guarantee on it, so they will outlive us precisely, and they're worth millions. Like I said, one question that Salvador Torres Queso, another muralist, asked Anthony Quinn in the opening of the Polyforum in Mexico. He asked Anthony Quinn, "Sir, what does it mean to see a mural?" And he asked, Anthony Quinn replies, "A mural is like many movies put together." So yes, like this mural Chicano Park. You can make many movies out of this. You can dissect areas and talk about it and do something about it. So I don't know what else to say. Instead that I'm very happy. I'm going to be 59 years old. I got struck by lightning, twice already. The last time I was selling artwork for my lady, was volunteering, and I got struck by lightning. So I'm very happy to be alive. I don't know what else to say. That I'm a Tolteca artist from Centro Cultural. That I'm a Tolteca artist forever. I will always be a Tolteca artist. That I wish for other people to learn how to paint, to take initiative to organize in their schools or whatever to do murals. Murals bring people together in any different ways or form. Recently we were in Mexico City where we got to sit in Bellas Artes with the top 10 graffiti artists in Mexico, who then they contribute to stage the painting for Estadio Azteca in Mexico, one of the largest soccer stadiums in the world, and they got to paint murals around them. So we talk about this mural project here and how we started this, and now it's respected. It goes on record historically, worldwide, historically speaking. It has a name. Fundamentally speaking, it's already 40 years in the track. So that's a lot of history. During the time that we learned to do mural painting, one of the beautiful things about Gilberto Ramirez, our maestro, is that he worked with Pablo Gorman, and Pablo Gorman was one of the artists who selected in Mexico City to do the largest mural in Mexico. UNAM is by Pablo Gorman. He worked with Diego Rivera as well. He selected tiles made of different rocks from throughout Mexico and combined all of those tiles in the wall to unite all of Mexico in an artistic way. I believe that what we're doing right here in Chicano Park is the same thing. We're gathering all the different energies of the best artists, muralists in the world, Chicano art world, we say, to come and paint in Chicano Park. So therefore, whatever goes on these walls is like sacred spaces or visual spaces for a healing. It's like we should not paint horrible things no more, like in the 1970s when Ramses Noriega and the guys in LA would start painting big monsters like to scare people out. And even the ones right here, the lady from Cuatro Milpas, she says, oh, I hate it. She just quoted. She hates those first murals where Toledo painted this black man that is really scary and with chains and skeletons. People don't like that. Let's treat it in a very nice way. For ourselves, it's important to know that the people that are going to watch these murals, young kids, people, visitors, familias, whoever is going to watch. So therefore, the colors that we use are very important. He said, quote, and the golden concept is that the blue and the gold are two universal colors that appease the mind, that help people feel grounded, feel happy, feel peaceful. So yeah, to create that peaceful space, you see a lot of the blue using here, a lot of gold using here, a lot of colors that bring healing. Color is healing. Therefore, the more vibrant colors we use, the more healing goes into it. So everybody's eyes can look at it different, and everybody can perceive healing differently. Linda and I, well, she gets to hear all the comments about people saying the first thing they see this mural. And there's all of these murals, the person comes to see this mural because it brings him. And it has the most, composition-wise, it has a lot of layers of colors. Amen. It's layer after layer after layer. It's like we want to finish. Hey, you forgot this little pedacito right here. And there's like pedacitos, empty spaces, little triangles. There are composition spaces that symbolically they speak a lot. They say something. So therefore, there's a space in there where we dedicated the mural for the women in the west side. And there is the people, there's women holding the west side as in the project group with staffs, like they're always going to be there. There is a woman and the pillar with a rattle, passing the rattle to the young girl, songs, teachings, prayers, so she will remember these songs. And over there, the young man passing out to another young man with the rattle and the shovel, passing knowledge of taking care of the park, taking care of the danza, or the energy of tradition. And the old people that work, the people that have worked all their lives, but they are working volunteer here to do something good. The same every time that it's Chicano Park Day, everybody likes to volunteer with the same happy feeling. So that embracing the happiness is always good feeling. It's always good feeling to feel that, and that always repeats here in every place else. We were here the other day when somebody came from North County, and that person said, we got here 40 years ago, and we listened how everything got together, so we went back to our neighborhood, organized our park, and we got our park back thanks to you guys, thanks to you, thanks to Chicano Park. So yeah, so copying, how do you say it, not mimicking, but reciprocating the idea of the community effort other place is an act of love. It's a consciousness, like it's in the record. April 22nd, Earth Day was happening in Balboa Park. It was happening in Chicano Park for Aztlan. And here is the birth of Aztlan. This place sets the ground for Nacimiento de Aztlan. So therefore, we're going to continue doing things for Aztlan. And that's why we have a flag that represents Aztlan with the 7 loops, 7 cities of knowledge, 7 sacred cities of power that were the treasurers came to New Mexico to look for it, but they never found them. They are still there. And that's Chicomostoc, the prayer on the Aztec people in the south, praying to the north for the 7 cities of Chicomostoc where we came from. So people say, well, you guys had no roots in Aztlan. Yes, we do. But how are you going to put this in the books, in the record? Hey, please do a research and find out. Well, there is a book on Casas Grandes by 3 volumes that talks about all the sacred sites and the Southwest relating to Chicomostoc. And the other book that we got, what was the Eagle's Nest by David Carrasco, the Eagles of Coatlinchan, that talks about all the sacred sites and throughout the Southwest that talk about Aztlan is here. And not just to mention something very important. People ask this question, Aztlan. Well, Aztlan in Wisconsin, there's a place called Red Lake, Wisconsin, and there's a national park called Aztlan, the place of the white herons. So for the first migrations of the herons came from the Mississippi north down south, and the second came from the Rio Grande, and the third from the Colorado, and they all went down to Mexico in 2 different periods of time, and they all are Aztlan. So therefore, we have the oldest Aztec award in a federal park in Wisconsin, in Jefferson County, in Red Lake, Wisconsin. So here we are in Chicano Park, talking about Aztlan and how Aztlan is not a myth, it's a true place of knowledge. It's a place of birth. Here is the Nacimiento de Aztlan in the mural art. We have many other places where we have painted other murals, but this is the largest in the world. One of the most important things about the park, Chicano Park takeover, the mural, it was an heroic act against the racism that was taking place here at the park by the abuse of police brutality and the racism in terms of depriving people from participating with us, threatening them if they were in welfare, they couldn't come to participate on the park, if they were receiving food stamps or any kind of a help from the government, it was going to be cut off. There were threats to the people right here. So racism in its totality has contributed to the revolt of Chicano Park, Logan Heights community against the oppressive energy that was happening in those years under the Republican Party of San Diego, who were ruling at the same time denying people access to better life. Just like at the same time this was happening here over at the park, Centro Cultural La Raza was being resolved because Salvador Torres was dealing with the issue. So there was 2 things happening at Balboa Park and here at Chicano Park at the same time. So the news was saturated with the Chicano activism that was happening. So people were complaining there was too much of this, too many riots happening. People were protesting about about the war in Vietnam. People were protesting about police brutality, and all together, people were trying to make something for Earth Day on that day, April 22nd. So for the betterment of that day, historically speaking, the Chicano people, our community here in Chicano Park, they created an heroic moment, a moment in history. They opened the Pandora box for Earth Day Chicano style, for many other Chicano parks to be born, like in Denver, Colorado, like in Santa Fe, Nuevo Mexico, Albuquerque, San Antonio, Los Angeles, Olvera Street, Lincoln Heights, where the Monumento of Cuauhtémoc is happening. So all these parks in all California were touched by the energy of Chicano Park, defending the park against racism, protecting the park against racism. All of these things happen here. So now we have these murals as giant protectors of the park. They are like our guardian angels painted on the pillars. That's what we have.